Chapter 1. The Boy at the Window. London 3:17 a.m. The storm clawed at the sky, a furious beast of thunder and wind. It had no grace, just raw, unrelenting power. Raindrops struck the Darling residence with bullets of water, making the windows shudder in their frames. The old manor in Kensington was a fading relic, draped in ivy and the slow decay of time. Upstairs in the converted attic bedroom, Wendy Darling, just past her 18th birthday, sat cross-legged on her bed, pen trembling in her fingers as she scribbled into her worn leather journal. The same dream again, black birds with eyes like people and skis that bled. Lightning flared, illuminating the entire room in a brief, bone-white flash. Wendy blinked into the darkness. A branch scraped across the rooftop like nails on slate. And then she heard it. Not the creaking floorboards, not the thunder, but a deliberate rhythmic scratching at the window. She slowly looked up. A silhouette stood beyond the glass. Human-shaped still, watching. For a moment her mind failed to make sense of it. There was no balcony, no ledge, just open air and a 5-story drop to the garden below. She froze, her pen slipping from her hand onto the blankets. A primal fear buzzed under her skin. Then the shadow smiled. She rose to her feet as if pulled by a thread. Her slippers made no sound on the wooden floor. Her hand reached for the latch, heart pounding. A voice, her mother, or maybe her own, echoed in her memory. Not everything that knocks should be invited in. She opened the window. Wind and rain burst inward, and with them tumbled a young man, 18, maybe 19. His movements were fast, fluid, more feline than human. His clothes were damp with mist but not soaked. A loose forest green shirt hung open at the collar, leather cords and moss clinging to his pants. A hunting knife glinted at his hip. His hair was dark, messy, wild. His eyes caught hers, brilliant green, bright with intelligence and mischief. But behind them, something heavy, old. "You're Wendy," he said. His voice was low, with the cadence of someone who spoke seldom but always meant what he said. She backed away. "How do you know my name?" He gave a half-bow, dramatic and sharp. "Because I've been watching you." The room seemed smaller, the shadows stretched longer. "And who are you?" she asked. The smile returned. "Peter Pan." Her spine stiffened. Not because she believed him, but because she had written that name before. Not in a child's voice, but in her own. Her stories of Peter Pan were laced with darkness, ink-stained fantasies about eternal youth, seductive danger, and a wild place beyond time. "You're not real," she whispered. Peter stepped closer. He didn't argue. "You write about me. You dream about me," he said, gesturing to the stack of journals on her desk. "I came because you're ready." Ready for what? To leave this place, to see what's on the other side of the story. He turned, walked to the open window and stepped out onto air. Wendy rushed forward. "Wait." But he wasn't falling. He was hovering. Peter floated 5 stories above the garden, silhouetted against a sky full of lightning veins. The wind didn't touch him. Rain parted around him like he was made of a different substance. He held out his hand. "Come with me, Wendy." Her brain screamed all the logical things: hallucination, stranger danger, trauma-induced delusion. But her body moved. She grabbed her coat, slipped on boots, and stepped onto the sill. He didn't coax her, he simply waited. She placed her hand in his, and the world vanished. The sky ripped open. They flew. The city was below them, drenched rooftops, blinking towers, streets winding like veins through a sleeping giant. The wind howled in her ears, but it didn't cut. Instead, it lifted her, lifted them. Wendy laughed, disbelieving and alive, adrenaline pouring through her limbs. Peter didn't laugh. He watched her with a calm, distant gaze, like he'd seen this moment before. "Where are we going?" she shouted over the roar. "To the place where lost things go," he said. They flew beyond the clouds where stars burned brighter than they should. These stars moved too fast, too sentient. One blinked. Another spun lazily as they passed. Something watched from above. Wendy's stomach clenched. Below, the ocean turned black. Jagged mountains rose like claws from the sea. A crescent-shaped island shimmered in the distance, cloaked in violet mist. Trees breathed in unnatural blues. The beaches were pale bone. The moon overhead was far too close. Neverland. It looked like a dream drawn by a mad god. They descended fast, too fast. The air grew dense with magic, thick and metallic, like the taste of blood in the mouth after biting your tongue. Wendy stumbled as they landed in a clearing surrounded by gnarled trees. The ground felt warm, pulsing faintly beneath her boots. The stars blinked slower here, waiting for something. Out of the forest, figures emerged. 8 of them, all young adults, no younger than 18 but not older than 22. Scarred, dirty, hollow-eyed, the lost boys. They circled like wolves, not boys. All of them watched her with varying degrees of interest, suspicion, hunger. Peter stepped beside her, raising his hand. "This is Wendy. She's here to help." A few exchanged glances. One of them, tall with hollow cheeks, muttered, "Another one." "What does she do?" another asked, stepping closer. "Is she a fighter or a dreamer?" "I don't know yet," Peter said, his voice carrying weight. Wendy clenched her fists. "Help you do what exactly?" Peter looked at her for a long moment, his face suddenly unreadable. "To stop Hook," he said at last. Wendy's lips parted, as in Captain Hook. Peter nodded. "He's returned. And he's bringing something worse." The air went still. A distant growl echoed, too low to be thunder, too near to be safe. Peter didn't flinch, but his hand hovered near his knife. A tiny, high-pitched sound broke the silence. Ding! Wendy turned and froze. A small, glowing figure stepped from the shadows, wings like razors, body encased in glimmering light, hair of molten gold and eyes like dying suns. Tinker Bell. The pixie glared at Wendy and smiled like a serpent.